welcome you to the Word of God of the third Sunday of Easter. And today's readings are actually interesting. First and foremost, no one who encounters the risen Lord remains the same. There is a transformation that comes from our encounter, our experience of Jesus, the risen Lord. It empowers, it dispels fears, it renews, it motivates, and then we are sent out to live, to witness to others that experience that we have had. This is what is seen in the readings today. In the gospel, we see the commissioning of Peter, the appearance of Jesus to his disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. Sometimes when we feel God distant from us, when we don't have hopes again, when we have lost hope in God, we tend to abandon everything, to go back to our old ways of life. This is exactly the experience, the context in which Jesus appeared to the disciples. They backed in Jesus, they followed him, they invested in this venture. And now all the promises Jesus made to them seemed to have been lost. Because of course they did not understand what rising from the dead meant. No one had ever risen from the dead. So, how could they be able to understand that? They hid themselves, and eventually, when his promise of rising from the dead seemed not to be coming, he's coming again. They gave up everything. They went back to their old way of life, source of livelihood. Peter said, "I'm going fishing," and others followed him. But there's something interesting about the experience. These are expert fishermen. And they know the best time that the fish would come, that they could catch fish in the night. But they labored throughout the night and labored in vain. But that experience, that failure on their part, that need, that vulnerability became an opportunity for God to appear to them, for the risen Lord to show himself to them. St. Teresa of Avila tells us that the moments of difficulty, the moments of challenges, the moments of disappointments are actually moments of divine encounter. Because God comes to where we are. He meets us at our own points of need. And the point of need of these disciples is their failure to catch fish. But of course, in the question of Jesus, have you caught anything, friends? And their response, we have caught nothing. He told them what to do. In that, there's also an aspect of faith, of belief, of trust. Cast your net on the right side of the boat for a catch. They believed, they trusted, and they experienced him. Sometimes we fail to listen to the word of God, to the voice of the risen Lord, especially when it is illogical to our own human thinking. But it was in that obedience that Peter and his disciples were able to be surprised by the truth of the risen Lord. But that also became an opportunity for Jesus to call Peter, to send him on a mission. Remember, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And now 3 times, Jesus is making him to correct that denial, asking him, do you love me more than any of these others do? Do you love me? If you do, then feed my sheep. Tend my sheep. Giving Peter that leadership role as the first among equals. And it is from this that the Roman Pontiff, the Pope, gets his responsibility as the leader of the flock of Christ. Feed my sheep. Attend to my sheep. Gather my sheep. I am handing you over this flock of mine. First and foremost, they belong to Christ, not Peter. But it is a responsibility given to Peter. That responsibility is given to each one of us individually, according to our own status of life. As a parent, as a teacher, as a man, as a woman, as a young person, as a child. Because we share through baptism in this leadership role of bearing witness to others, of making him known to others, of proclaiming Jesus to the world. And to whom much is given, much is also expected. And that is why in the first reading, we saw Peter responding, holding forth, and telling the people, obedience to God comes first. This is the same Peter that denied, I don't know him. The same Peter and the disciples that hid themselves before they encountered the risen Lord, before the Spirit was given to them. They were afraid of the leaders, those that crucified Jesus. And these are the same people that stood in front of the people, the Sanhedrin, the whole crowd, to proclaim Jesus to them. Even when they were banned from teaching about him, even when they were instructed, do not talk about this man again. And that is what we see in the first reading. We gave you order, we instructed you not to preach in this name. And what have you done? You have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and seem determined to fix the gate of this man's death on us. And they responded, obedience to God comes before obedience to men. With the responsibility, being empowered to teach, to feed the flock with the right menu, the right food, with the word that proceeds from the mouth of God. To teach the flock in things regarding faith and moral. Peter wasn't going to blink. He wasn't going to let anything stop him. And eventually, he gave his life for this. And interestingly, the Greek root word for witnessing is the same root for martyrdom. So in bearing witness, we are called to martyrdom. We are invited to martyrdom. We are invited to make him known, notwithstanding whatever we encounter, the persecutions, the sufferings that come from making him known. Unfortunately, in our society today that has become so anti-Christian, very violent to Christian, to Christians and to Christianity. Many of us are shying away from this responsibility. We don't want to suffer. We don't want to be persecuted. We don't want to be seen as going against the constituted authority. Even when we know what we are saying is the right thing, we become so lukewarm. We just want to be. Let us not be disturbed. Let us not disturb the situation. But all of us have that power, that authority, that responsibility, that gift given to us to bring Jesus and to make him known to the world. If we are not yet ready to suffer for him, then we are not yet ready to be Christians. And listen to what happened when they were warned, when they were flogged, and they left the presence of the Sanhedrin, glad to have had the honor of suffering humiliation for the sake of the name. What about you? Our words today need witnesses. Our words today need radical witnesses. Those that will stand firm, not just to proclaim by words the faith they have received, but to live it by their lives. Obedience to Jesus Christ. Many a times when we are torn in between choosing the right and choosing the wrong, especially when the government or the society doesn't support the right, we always go with the society. That will be denying Jesus. That will be shying away from our responsibility. So as a mother, as a father, as a Christian, let us begin now to make efforts to live this radical Christianity that Peter and his disciples lived, irrespective of the sufferings coming from it. And Jesus is always with us to guide us and to lead us. The one who gave his life for us invites us to give our lives for him and for his gospel, making him known wide and near. And remember, no one who encounters the risen Lord remains the same. It transforms and dispels the fears that keep us away from living radically our Christian calling, our Christian vocation.